Hey, what's going on everyone? In this video, I'll be comparing the Sony BDP-S1100 Blu-ray media player up against the Western Digital TV Live media player. Now the first thing we'll be starting off with is the remote for each media player. Here you have the BDP-S1100 Blu-ray media player remote, and over on the right hand you have the Western Digital TV Live remote. Now in terms of size, they're pretty similar. However, the Western Digital Live in terms of comfort is vastly superior to hold. They both do what they're supposed to. They're pretty easy to function and use. However, the QWERTY keyboard on the Western Digital Live remote doesn't really function in most of the apps, which is kind of strange that they would even include it on the remote then. Now before I continue this comparison any further, I do want to let you guys know to be aware that this is going to be a very quick comparison breakdown. If you want a more in-depth review of each media player and how their full functions work, be sure to check out their individual video reviews, which you can find the links to those videos in the video description. There I do a whole bunch of analysis and, in terms of the physical design, the software design. Here's just a quick comparison. Now starting on the front of the 1100, you have the Blu-ray tray, which also plays CDs and DVDs, and the device itself on, physical scale is pretty sleek to look at. Over on the top of the front, you have the eject button, a play button, a stop, and power on and off button, and you have the first and only USB port on the front right. Over in the Western Digital TV Live media player, it's pretty simplistic. All you have is the remote sensor and the first of two USB ports. On the right side of each device, you have no slots available at all. Now when it comes to the back of the 1100, you have a bit of a strange case here. Well, basically starting off, you have on the far left the power cord which actually attached to the device and sticking out. Right next to it, you have the Ethernet port which supports LAN 100, then you have an HDMI output port and digital coaxial audio output. Unfortunately, you'll notice that there's no support for analog wires and no audio optical output, which is unfortunate but the case. On the Western Digital TV Live, however, you'll have the first port on the left, which is where you connect the power cord. Then you have an optical audio output port, a Ethernet port for wired internet, an HDMI output, the second USB port, and of course the final port is for analog output, which is actually included in the box. It's kind of like an adapter they include. On the left side of each device, you also have no ports available. A key difference is that on the Western Digital TV Live, on the bottom of the device, it actually has holes that allow for wall mounting. Okay, so what I currently have plugged in is the TV Live media player, and you'll notice the interface is very attractive. It's very welcoming. In fact, you can change the wallpaper. You can actually download themes, customize it a little bit here and there. But for the most part, it's actually quite laggy. I'm trying to go through this as fast as possible, and right now it's kind of stuttering, as you guys just saw. But the interface, actually, the device in general, as a whole, is just generally laggy. If you go to services, this is where you would access all the apps available, and you cannot download additional apps. What you have here is all you get, unless there's a firmware update available from Western Digital and it includes additional apps. Otherwise, there's not more you can download. The list is kind of scarce, but you have the most popular services available like Netflix, Hulu, and of course YouTube. Now the app availability will differ depending on the region you live in. For example, if you live in Canada, the apps will differ from those living in the US. But the apps that you would need, they work, but again, they're just extremely slow. So I'll just show you a couple of apps. The Hulu Plus app itself takes about 15 seconds to open, and the interface is extremely simple, which isn't really a bad thing. It does what you need. You can access your subscriptions, your profile, your history, and all the other good stuff. And of course, you can search. Again, if you want a lot more details of each device in action, be sure to check out their individual video reviews, in which you can find the links in the video description. If the show you're watching on Hulu does have HD quality playback available, then the quality playback was pretty superb. The quality, for shows that are HD look fantastic. Controls are easy to use and navigate with the remote. You can fast forward, pause. Although I must admit, fast forwarding is pretty slow. This is one of the slowest devices I've seen when it comes to fast forwarding. Although it is still very easy to use, it's just generally slow. So at this point in time, what I'm going to demonstrate for you guys is the Netflix app. But I just want to let you know that what happened actually while exiting the Hulu Plus app, I pressed the home button on the remote. And actually, this is a very common occurrence. When I'm playing a video on Hulu Plus and I press the home button on my remote, the media player tends to freeze up for about a minute, and then it'll return to the main menu of the actual media player itself, or sometimes it'll just simply power off and restart on its own. the media player is just simply that laggy. It just can't really keep up with anything. And opening up the Netflix app is another horrendous experience on its own because it takes about 40 to 45 seconds to open. So we'll continue once it has actually opened up. Netflix itself does have HD quality playback. What I noticed with the TV Live media player is that when video is playing, for the first few seconds I'm getting a bit blurry quality, and after about 10 to 15 seconds I notice the quality becomes increasingly better. This is probably due to the fact that the media player simply can't keep up because it only occurs with this media player. However, navigating, fast forwarding, and slowing down is pretty much the same slow experience as Hulu Plus. And just generally navigating Netflix is really sluggish and slow. I'm rapidly pressing the buttons on the remote to keep going through the list of available titles. It's just not really keeping up too well. It's extremely slow. So at this point, what I'm going to do is pretty much leave it for internet content, and let's go to the USB media playback. When I first got the TV Live media player, I thought it was a great media player, but as time passes, I noticed that it's just not able to keep up with a lot of videos that I have, especially some of my home videos. Other media players that I have are able to play some of my videos just fine, but this TV Live media player simply can't play some of my MTS file formats. Other media players I have work just great, but not the TV Live. What happens is that everything runs fine, and then all of a sudden it starts to jitter. As you're noticing, it's very slow, it's stuttering, and the sound cuts off. It just simply can't keep up with this video file, which is a bit of a disappointment. I'm also noticing that some new MK video files that I get access to, they used to all play on this TV Live media player, but lately some of them don't seem to have the same effect as before. Simply put, they just don't play. I have the same issue as my MTS files. The media player will play them for a few seconds, sound cuts off, and then the picture starts to stutter here and there. It just simply can't keep up. I thought the files were corrupt, so I took it over to my other media players, but they work just fine. The TV Live seems to be lagging. What the TV Live really excels at, however, is network playback. Whether I'm playing something back via DLNA from my phone, tablet, wirelessly, or if I'm playing something over from my computer, as long as the media file is shared, it'll play back. Of course, you can share content via your Windows Media Center built in Windows, or you can simply share a folder in Windows and it'll share everything. This is where the TV Live really excels, where other media players cannot. When it comes to the interface of the 1100, it's pretty basic and dull compared to the Western Digital Live. Here you have the settings menu, then you have stuff filtered by media category. For example, here you would have your photos, then music, then video. This is very similar to the PlayStation 3 menu interface, which is known as the crossbar media interface. And of course, if you move further along, you have Network, which is Facebook, and Opera TV Store. Opera TV Store is basically an online service which allows you to connect to Opera and access more apps, but it always requires that you be online. But there's a ridiculous amount of apps available. The Sony Entertainment Network is basically Sony's exclusive features to online content which you can purchase. And over in video, you have the more popular services like Hulu, Netflix, and YouTube. Now, when it comes to network sharing, the Western Digital Live excels and shines. However, the 1100, which I'm showing you now, has zero networking support. Of course, you have internet content, but what I mean by networking support is that you can't connect to your computer over your network. You can't use your phone wirelessly to send content, DLNA content. Furthermore, the Western Digital Live has a built-in wireless adapter if you don't want to use a wired internet connection. The 1100 has a wired internet connection which supports LAN 100 via Ethernet. However, it has no built-in wireless network adapter, so it's very limited compared to the Western Digital Live. However, where it excels is in its media playback. Now, this is the exact same clip I had played in the Western Digital Live, but playing here on the 1100, there's zero stutter, zero lag, it's just smooth all the way. In fact, the 1100 has played every single file I could ever throw at it, even more than the Western Digital Live. This is where the 1100 really excels compared to the Western Digital Live. Generally, the interface is extremely quick, as I skimmed through earlier. Just forgot to mention that you guys should really take note of how quick the interface is. It's just like quick, fast. Even just opening videos, opening apps, it's just far faster than the Western Digital Live. So let me give you a quick demo of Netflix in action. Now, I'm not going to play a video on Netflix for you through the 1100 because, well, it's just the exact same thing. except I noticed that HD content is a lot clearer upon a video startup, a lot faster than Western Digital Live. For example, with Western Digital Live, I mentioned that HD content is blurry for the first few seconds and then it turns very clear. Whereas with the 1100, HD content is just very clear as soon as I play a video. The general interface of the menu of Netflix is a lot faster, maybe twice as fast compared to the Western Digital Live. So when it comes to app usage and media content playback, the 1100 is vastly superior. Opening the Hulu Plus app on the 1100 takes about the same time as it would on the Western Digital Live. However, what you'll notice is that the app for Hulu Plus on the 1100 is far more attractive and a lot more elegant looking, you could say. Of course, it looks a bit more cluttered, but the Western Digital Live has an overly excessively simplified version of the app, as you could say. I kind of get my words jumbled up here, so you have to excuse me. But moving along, basically the app is a lot more colorful and vibrant. It works pretty much just the same as you would expect on the Western Digital Live. Again, I'm not going to play a video because it's nearly identical. Now, if you were to ask my personal opinion, which one is the better media player? Remember, this is my personal opinion only. It's a bit of a toss-up. It's very hard to say because the 1100 is probably twice as fast in terms of opening apps, navigation, playing files. It's just way faster overall. Not only that, it has way more apps available, and then you have apps exclusive in the Opera Store. But its downfall, of course, is that it doesn't have any home networking playback whatsoever, and it doesn't have a built-in wireless adapter, or wireless card, rather. The Western Digital Live, it does almost everything the 1100 can in terms of video playback. There's only a few file types it won't play. It does play MTS files. It's just the one from my camera, probably the bitrate is just so high from playback, it can't handle it. So with that said, it can play most media content, the Western Digital Live. So I would choose the Western Digital Live. It has the best home networking playback experience, it has a built-in wireless card. Overall, it's generally slower, but generally better in other ways. So that's my comparison. Whatever media player you prefer, well, that's your own personal opinion. But that's my comparison. I hope you guys found it useful. Be sure to check out the individual reviews of each media player. You can find the links in the video description. Furthermore, I do compare the BDP-S1100, which is the upgrade of the 1100, to the Western Digital Live. The results may surprise you. So be sure to check out that video especially. But that's pretty much it. If you guys found this video useful, be sure to check out my Facebook, Google+, Twitter links in the video description. Hit the like button. It does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.